Hey everybody, hope and pray that you're doing well. Today as we come to our word from the word. And today that word is favor. Favor. Now, back those of you that were joining us on Wednesday nights, we got talking about this with Daniel, and I've used this before in our word from the word videos, but I love that word favor when it comes to people of God. And now we are getting into, we were in Nehemiah last week, and now this week, we're going to just look at the book of Esther this week, all 5 days this week. I pray you be able to join with us each day. And it's something. If you've never read through the book of Esther, I encourage you just to read through the whole book, and even every day this week, maybe just read through the whole book. It's very easy to read. It's 10 short chapters. Most Bibles it's just a few pages, but you see the events as they unfold, and what you may think is going to happen doesn't necessarily happen. Now, there's a couple things that I did want to speak on before we jump in today, and it's something as we've been talking about prayer and conversations with God and things that I think the Lord wants to see through this. Esther is one of those books that a lot of people talk about, and there's a lot of stuff, a lot of noise, I'll just call it, in the background, because they say, well, Esther doesn't even mention, the book of Esther does not mention the name of God. And so there's a lot of people that question that and what the reasoning is behind that. And that's a discussion for another time to look at all the different views that are on that. But as you read through here, yes, the name of God may not be mentioned. You may not see anybody in a synagogue worshiping, but you remember that these are written about people who had been exiled, who had chose not to return for various reasons. And now, as you're looking at that, some of the things that you see that do happen and some things that don't happen, you can see God throughout it. There's several times where you see that they were fasting and weeping and wearing sackcloth, and then there's a feast that is set up at the end of the book, and some of these things you would say that if they're Jews, then God was intertwined in all of that, and that they were obviously praying and seeking Him. And I won't argue that one bit. But there's one thing you can see very clearly. And there was two commentators that mentioned this, and I wanted to share that with you, and then we'll jump right in today. We're going to be in Esther chapter 2 today, just looking at one verse. But Karen Jobes said this. She said, the book of Esther is the most true-to-life biblical example of God's providence, precisely because God seems absent. And I thought, what a great way to take the absence of God's name in the book, but yet still be able to see the providence of God. And so Matthew Henry, he said this, he said, but though the name be not in it, the finger of God is, directing many minute events for the bringing about of his people's deliverance. And that's the key here, is that you see the providence of God. You see God working behind the scenes, even though his name is never mentioned. And I pray you'll get that blessing out of it this week. So today, Esther chapter 2, just basically give you a little background. And I encourage you to read through this on your own, because there's no way I could cover all the little small, wonderful details here. But Vashti, the queen of the Persian king, is basically, she's called to see the king, and she refuses. And he says, okay, you're not the queen anymore. So he, a little while, some time passes, and he says, you know what, I need a queen. So all the young ladies, right, all the single young ladies are going to come and basically apply to put in an application to be the queen. And you'll see this throughout as you read. But here I want you to look at this word. Esther chapter 2, verse 17 says, the king loved Esther more than all the other women, and she obtained grace and favor in his sight more than all the virgins. So he set the royal crown upon her head and made her queen instead of Vashti. Now, that's the reason I point out that word today, that word favor. And you'll see this if you know anything about the story, that God has put her in place for a reason. Now, we'll get to the reason and all the providence that's going on. But you have to understand that when you see the favor of God on your life, on the lives of others, who you just see that it seems like, man, God is really doing something special in this situation, then we need to watch out. We need to be on guard for the enemy, because we know the enemy is going to come and attack, because the enemy can't stand favor. The other part is that we can rejoice in the fact that we know that God is about to do something spectacular. See, as you look to like the book of Daniel, where Daniel found favor, and over he finds favor with the king. And here Esther finds favor with the king. I mean, think about it. If she hadn't found favor with the king, we wouldn't be discussing her today. There would be no talking about it. The book wouldn't exist if she had not found favor. And a lot of times, too, we'll seek the favor of men. And I know she found favor in the king's eyes because that's what God wanted. But that's not what she was looking for. I believe she was looking still to serve God in some way. And maybe she didn't even know at the time. And I think really because of her relationship with Mordecai, as you'll find out, I believe that she needed to be encouraged even in that as she was walking through those decisions. I think she knew that God was going to do something, but she didn't know quite what it was. And so today, maybe if that's you, maybe the favor of God is on you and you don't even really realize it. Maybe God has been moving and working in situations around you, and he wants to use you. But you first got to look to him. And if it is the favor of God, then thank him, praise him. Be on the lookout for the enemy, because the enemy's coming. But most importantly, just be ready. Be willing to do even the most difficult things. Because favor does not come without responsibility. Just like everything in our Christian walk, right? We have a call on our lives, but it has to come and call for obedience as well. So today, just to think about the favor of God, and what a wonderful God we serve, that even though we may not hear it, we may not hear him, we know that he's always at work. God bless you, and I pray you have a great, great day.